What's up guys? Now we're going into my personal top 10 favourite games of all time. Also remember you can check us out on Facebook where you can see updates from the crew. You can also check out our website where all our previous content is available and the WG cast on iTunes. Although my top 10 games are likely to be less of a nostalgia trip than some, at number 10 we have Spyro Year of the Dragon, which earns a placing for being one of the few games I played by myself as a child and one that I greatly enjoyed. Sure to be a feature on many lists, Portal with its witty humour and concise design comes in at number 9. Portal is regarded as one of the best PC games in history by many people, and I am one of those people.
So in case you don't make it through the testing, goodbye.
While writing the list, I tried to pick the games that impacted me the most. So at number 8 is French indie title Off. I found myself unable to put it down for all the few hours of precious RPG Maker gameplay. A good way to hit two puzzles with one objection. The more recent 3DS title, Professor Layton vs Phoenix Wright, is number 7. The game had me missing many a bus stop as I found myself enthralled in its charming, quizzical handheld world.
Labyrinthia, behold your new story!
I will now pronounce the verdict, guilty of being a witch.
Alice Madness Returns has to be one of the prettiest games I've ever played to date. While I can't say much in defense of timed, invisible, floating, moving 3D platform puzzles, the art, story and characters alone were enough to win my affection, and 6th place on this list.
Set you free, Alice.
Is it mad to pray for better hallucinations?
Between the level design and snappy one-liner wannabes, I don't think Psychonauts has a dull moment to offer. The combination of nonsensical characters and underlying dark humour made for an unforgettably absurd experience.
What I wrote on the pamphlet.
Young cadets are taught to perfect their powers.
Get in here and give me 20.
And the counselors.
What a delightfully...
While plot isn't usually the selling point of conventional Pokemon games, this one is close to my heart. Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Time may have been cheesy, but it was a story that captured the heart of a younger, less cynical me, and so it gets 4th place on my list.
そして君はポケモンになっていた.
If time spent is any indication of enjoyment, then I can safely say that Dota 2 has earned its place on this list, because for whatever masochistic reason, I just keep coming back to it. It's a terrible game in which towers, egos and friendships are destroyed in equal measure. You should try it sometime. From the instant I completed this compelling masterpiece, I have been certain that Transistor deserved to be at least 2nd place on my list of favourite games. The stunning visuals, immersive environment and musical genius came together in a way that for me, words cannot really describe. The wacky characters, outrageous plot, and wicked hijinks that made the first Danganronpa so good only intensify in the sequel. My number 1 game of all time is Super Danganronpa 2, Goodbye Despair. It's a game that grabbed me around the neck and wouldn't let go until either my head or the credits finished rolling. So that was my top 10 favourite games of all time. Danganronpa is definitely something that I discovered fairly recently, but that just blew me away. Danganronpa.
Danganronpa.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's a game about sort of being a detective in a sort of enclosed space in which the only way to escape is by killing someone else and not getting found out about it. So you're basically trying to figure out who's committed each murder.
Oh, okay, that sounds like a Gary's Mod type of play thing that I heard about.
I'm interested to know why you chose Pokemon Mystery Dungeon over like the more traditional like RPG ones.
I loved this. You're gonna think I'm dumb, but I loved the story for that game. That game, when I was younger, I can just remember how much it affected me. Also, I was really bad at stocking up on like items. So, spoiler alert, like at the point where you suddenly get thrown into this situation where you can't like grind for items, you have to do this really hard bit. I was just like, that took me so long, but it was so satisfying at the end.
So I'm here in Cologne, Germany, Gamescom 2014 with Thomas, executive producer. We're here to check out Lords of the Fallen. How's your
What do you think?
I really like it. I'm guessing that difficulty is the main, one of the main maybe subjects of this game. Is that something you?
The challenge, as I would like to speak about
Yeah,
it.
sorry,
Definitely, yeah. I'm not hiding that. That's true.
So you obviously designed it with challenge in mind. Yeah. How did you do that?
The most important thing and the most important aspect of how we approached designing the game, the vision for it, was make it really, really challenging so that people feel that they get a lot of satisfaction once they overcome the challenge.
Yep.
But we've worked quite a lot of time and quite hard to try to identify and either reduce or remove all the frustrating elements. And it was quite a lot of time to try to actually once draw that line and then try to see the things that are on the other side, especially for the mainstream audience. Like, to name just a few of them, environmental deaths, not too many of them in Lords. Like, for example, if you just use a save point, enemies won't respawn, only when you die. And save points, for example, are close to the boss fights. And all of that. So there are a lot of you can stop any attack that you're carrying out and start blocking at any given moment. You're not committed. It's a long attack with a heavy. A lot of stuff. And you try to think, okay, challenges is still on a very, very high level, and this is the design of that game. We're open about it, but at the same time we try to seek these things that are perceived as slightly more frustrating by a lot of guys.
Can you tell me a little bit about the world that you play in and like what's happening? And
Yeah, sure. The most important thing about Lords of the Fallen is it's not a game that was created based on any franchise, like books or movies or anything. We pretty much made it up ourselves because we wanted it to fit the style of game that we're doing. So we wanted to have total freedom of how we tweak the world, the story, and the whole lore of this game. So what we did is we came up with a legend that pretty much drives everything that happens in the world of Lords of the Fallen. So a couple thousand years ago, people have fought and defeated their god. It was a very bad god, but they actually, and because of that, because of what they've done, overthrowing a god, I mean, come on, how much of an ego boost that must be. Because of that, it's really important to realize that they believe, the humanity in the world of Lords of the Fallen, believe that they can do really, really epic and big things. For example, they believe they can completely wipe evil out of human nature. And whether that's reasonable or not in our world, we're not going to argue. But it's important to sort of recognize that. And based on that, they did a lot of things. For example, they came up with a codex of all the worst sins and deeds that humans can do. And anybody who gets caught doing that is branded with a tattoo on their face forever, being an outcast. Everybody knows he's an evil guy, don't stick with him, and so on and so on. So these are these outcasts, the criminals. And when a game starts, the demons, the Rogar as we call them, the army of the fallen gods, starts to reappear together with the title lords that are the generals of this army. Nobody knows why, but the humanity, as I've described it to you, comes up with an idea that's evil. We don't want to, fight it with the race. So let's come up with getting the guy that is most evil on our end and face evil with evil. And here they come up with Harkin, our main hero, all the faces to choose because he's done the worst sins, the worst deeds, all of them, and that's why they want to just face him against. What is important, it's not a typical shiny armor hero, paladin, knight kind of guy, but at the same time, and what was the most important thing for us, he's capable of doing what's ahead of him, fighting the demon, the rogar, and the lords over the bosses of the game. He can do that, and that's the most important thing about it. So that's pretty much the get-go. And then there's a story. You get to explore the human realm, you get to explore the demonic realm, you get to the both sides, you get the perspective, and then... And here's where I should stop right now.
You can't reveal too much. So there's so much customization in what kind of character you play.
Yeah, there's a lot of customization in the way that you look, but you're always Harkin.
Yeah.
The body of yours is always the same. You don't get to choose like gender, the shape, the physique of your character, but you can customize a lot about the gear, like that's armor, that's shields, that's weapons, and it actually make you look different. Some of the designs are human, some of the designs are demonic, for example, so it really matters regarding the looks. And you can mix armors, for example, if you want to. Yeah. So that's that. And the other thing is, we try to base the designs of characters and the world as well in a tone that is still technically a dark kind of fantasy, because this is a world that is doomed, so to say. So there is a dark menace over this world pretty much, but at the same time we wanted to make sure that the approach we take will be appealing and will feel like, hey, it's cool
Yeah.
for the more mainstream audience. I'm not afraid to use the words like pop culture and stuff like this, stylized, maybe even some of that comic book like. We're okay with that. We actually embrace that, and we feel that design can really nicely fit into the fantasy world if you do it right, and we're happy to do that, and I hope it comes across.